Hey everybody, welcome back to ChampnSons, and it's been a while, but we are back in our racing series with our NASCAR and our F1 team. Now, a little change has been happening, and the last time we saw our F1 team, we were racing for HAAS, filling in for them just for a short time. Now, that only lasted a couple races, one of which we got to show with Bahrain, but it wasn't something that was going to be permanent. So what we decided to do as a racing team is go ahead and start from the bottom up, but we really need to know how Formula One operates, how these tracks are, how they drive, how the cars drive, and everything. A few races for HAAS isn't going to give us that feeling, so we sent our driver Luke to basically join up in F2. So while we do still have our NASCAR series going, and we will check in on them every once in a while, we are right now getting set up for our first run at F2 to see if we can earn an F1 contract, and we're looking at maybe a season, possibly two with F1 with the team before we take ownership of our own. And even then, right now, we're still only in the Nextel Cup series in the NASCAR one, looking to break up into actual NASCAR. So got to keep the timing in mind on when we try to spend all this money. It is a major expense, especially for an F1 team. So we got to really have our everything on point. And so the best way that we figured to do this, let's get into the bottom at F2. Let's work our way up and see if we got really what it takes to survive within the F1 realm, just as driving skills. And if we do, hey, great, we'll give it a little bit and start a team and try to earn our way up top there while we continue to try to take over racing in North America. So lots of different things going on. That's generally what we're doing, is getting our old driver Luke that raced for HAAS set up on his F2 team, which we are going to start him out with High Tech GP over in Silverstone, UK, which is where their base is going to be set at. Now, Driving Academy, we wanted to kind of try to figure out which one did we really want. HAAS, I don't think we want to re-sign with them, right? McLaren and Alpine only have the one segment, so I'm worried about going with either one of those. So we do send him, not to one of these driving academies, or even the Red Bull, because there's so few options. I think Mercedes is going to be the best, whether you have Petronas, but you also have Williams Racing, which is kind of at the bottom in that area, which is also a good way to start up. So we've got our options on where we can go. So we're going to go ahead and get ready to get started into the F2 series here. First race is going to be in Bahrain. This is, an interesting circuit. It's one that if you race it properly, you can actually do pretty well. This being our first race in an F1 or an F2 car, it's going to be a little interesting to see how things go. There are some good DRS zones in there, but there's a lot of sharp, tight turnarounds, so we have to be careful of that. Really take our opportunities when it comes to passing, trying to get around guys. But, like I said, we're not starting at the top of F2. We're really kind of down there at the bottom. So it's going to be a little bit before we can try to, work our way up. So let's take a look at the starting grid today. Red Bull is going to be on the pole with Liam Lawson there. P1 is him on the starting grid. Then Vips and Drugic, Cordial and Williams. And then Fittipaldi in the 8th spot. Caldwell in 10th. Ralph Boschung in 12th. And some of these names are kind of crazy. As you'll see, we are going to be starting here near the very bottom. Well, actually, we're going to be starting in just about dead last. So, number 22 spot. Now, that's where we qualified at. Like I said, it was a stressful qualifying round. We really did not do all that well in this one. However, will say some other teams had issues with their cars that they got penalized for. So, while we did qualify in 22nd, we're going to start out a little different in our positioning. So, we're going to be just sitting here as they check in with Alex on the paddock as we get set to start this first F2 race. And this is going to be a big-time series for us. I think we're going to get back into it. May not be the most consistent of uploads, but we're going to definitely add to it as we go throughout the years. And so here in Bahrain, as we are getting set, ready for these lights to go red, and that's going to be the most stressful time, is getting the engine pumped and going holding down on the clutch as you're able to get it launched off to a pretty good start as we are there in 19th. And you see us kind of cutting around, trying to get to the outside. One, to cut off the guys from coming behind us. But two, coming into this sharp right turn, we need to be in a spot where we're not going to get caught up in too much traffic as we actually zoom ourselves around the outside and get shoved off the track a little bit. Come back on to take some sidewall damage. Now, that damage isn't going to have all that much of an impact in how we are racing here in our number 7 car. So as we get back joined in here on the car in the first lap, coming into these tight turns, it's really timing out these brakes, especially with the cars in front of you. So we can qualify one way and actually drive pretty decently at other points. But when you have to hit the brakes because you do have these other cars in front, it's hard to kind of get that stuff timed out. So based off that start, we did move ourselves into the P14 spot. Coming into these, almost hitting into the back of them, locking up our tires just a little bit. Coming around some of these sharp turns, but that's what I said before. It's weird trying to time this stuff out. As we are following behind Iwasa here in P14, coming down this back little straightaway area, which gets an opportunity. It will be a DRS zone during the race, but right now we're a little too early on before they open up DRS. Now, Bashung tries to go around us, but we do a pretty good job of cutting him off and preventing him from going around on that inside edge. So now that we've got this kind of run, we're making pretty decent speed, but it is just one of those things that, man, when your car is kind of not up to pace all that well, it is a struggle on these straightaways to get a lot of speed. As you can see, Bashung is just catching us by about 3/100ths of a second at a time. But here we come into this hard turn, had to get down, dive down below on that one. Trying to finish P14 here in the first lap of this race, as we do come across that line to finish lap number 1 in P14, having moved up 5 spots in this one. But Bashung and Duhan are right on our tail, and you see him take that dive down low as they hold the line. It's hard to maintain. You want to stick on the inside of these turns, but it just becomes a pain in the keister trying to pull that off, especially when you got a car like Bashung that dives down underneath you there. It becomes almost impossible to avoid. It becomes almost impossible to avoid a collision. But if you loosen up your line a little bit, kind of veer yourselves to the outside some, it's just one of those things you have to do. And you'll see we're kind of swinging around a little too much. It's getting used back into these F1 cars. And this is actually an F2 car, but getting back into these cars, it is a lot different of a racing than you get really with NASCAR, even on a NASCAR road track race. This is just one of those things that you got to be careful with your braking when you come out of the brakes on these turns. And you don't want to lock it up, but two, you got to really time stuff out, especially to try to make it with how sharp some of these things are. And when do you let loose? Like, when do you really let loose? So in some of these wide turns, it's trying to hold them down and get the gear shifted properly. But you see right there, we shifted down actually. And then we swung ourselves out wide a little too far, almost completely off the track, right on the little bumper section there. But we got to be careful about that. And our gear shifting is going to be a big kind of thing in here. As you see, we're still a little bit slow on getting those gears changed. We will have to work on that. That's definitely going to be a symptom of just being new back into this. And so, we'll take care with what we got to take care of, but it's just one of those things. Now we're going to advance on up here a little bit further. We are around our 5th lap as we are getting ready to be able to go ahead and go into the pits. And I know we try to pit around lap 6. This is just an 11 lap race. And we're only on lap number 5, but really coming into it, it's one of those things that I don't want to wait too long, because we do have to go ahead and get our pit in early and really try to time it out. This is just one of those things. And we knew our pit window was open, so we went on ahead and we took it. And here we come into pit lane down here. As we're used to, stops that we get in the NASCAR game, now here we are in Formula 2, and we're talking just about 4 seconds on that pit stop. The little come out was a problem, getting the jack out of the way. But just over 4 seconds on that pit stop, which normally would be pretty good, it seems like, but that just wasn't all that great. When you take the time it took to get into the actual pit area, you would like to see it go a little bit quicker. but it is what it is. This is our first race back as we come back out on the track, and it's a pretty open pace at this point. We're now on the 6th lap, and this thing has gotten pretty wide open with where we are. So a lot of the other cars are going to be going into their own pit stop coming up here. So really, I like the fact that it's open. We can kind of just let everything loose as we try to catch up to everybody else, and we should be able to gain some spots back. That's the big thing, and I think we will time it all out properly where we'll get at least a few spots back. So here we work our way around, and this is one of those things. This lap is actually one of our better laps that we've run, and it's probably because we do have the newer tires out there. It's getting them warmed up. These are going to be the hard tires. It's not mediums or softs. These do have the hard, so the fact that no one else is around to see us kind of slipping a little bit is a pretty positive thing for us. So now we are going to advance on up here as we are coming around near the end of the 9th lap of this race. We've had it pretty open. We gained a couple of spots while we were going past pit lane after that one, all the way to about 17th. And here we go, getting passed up as we are in P18, and now it's going to be P19 as they are holding the inside edge, as they will squeeze around us here at the start of lap number 10. And we're giving chase as much as we can, but you can tell it seems at times in Formula 2 or 1, the car can make the difference. You know, these are not, so stock car racing, your car is your car. You might make little changes to wedge and all that kind of stuff. But for the most part, it's pretty much all the same car. Well, with Formula 2 and Formula 1, these are not the same cars. Alright, and in reality, if you get on, like take Williams Racing and F1, there's a reason why their team's not consistent. They don't have the funding, so the car is not as good as it is. You put Max Verstappen in a Williams Racing vehicle, he's not going, he might be able to make up a difference of a couple spots. Maybe he gets 10th and 9th and claims some points consistently, but it's not somewhere he's going to win every dang race. One of the main reasons for that, Red Bull's got a hell of a car. They'll be the first ones to tell you that. And right here, we don't have the greatest car in the world as we got past easily. So our biggest thing at this point, even though we've got a lot of space around us, one, don't do anything stupid. There's no need to do some stupid drivings. Two, don't get caught from behind. It seems like we got we're about 8-second difference between us and the people behind us. But in reality, that can be made up relatively quickly. So especially coming around some of these sharp corners as we get ready to come around this front straightaway. I call it the front straightaway. As we are going to be taking on the last lap here at Bahrain in our first F2 race. Sitting in P19, not the greatest positioning we could ever hope to be in, but it's also definitely not the worst. That would be P22. So at some point, you just got to be a little bit grateful for what you're given. And like I said, our first race, we've swung out wide a lot. We've slid on the track. We've slipped around. You know, we haven't had the best race in the world. And I think once if we kind of can get a car set up for, you know, some of these tracks a little bit better, I think we can actually put something together, put up a good solid showing here in F2. We've got that potential, I do truly think. As this is one of the cleanest lines that we've had, especially coming around some of these sharp corners here. It's actually racing really smoothly at this point, and it's taken us a little bit to get used to it. It really has. So here we are on the last lap as we are coming through around the last few turns, and you can see the cars behind us are already nudging up. They've already gained about 2 seconds of lap time on us, and we're not even through with one whole lap yet. So getting these big swooping turns, we are able to open it up a little bit, have a good solid line around these corners, which means we deal with our gear shifting a lot better. We're not hitting the brakes as much. And so here we go, getting ready, getting set to come across the finish line after about one more turn here at Bahrain in our first F2 series race as we hit that final corner. And here we are, shot out in front, down the front straightaway. The checkered flag is waving, and P19 is where we are going to be at. So we've got a long way to go. That we definitely do. We know this. It's just one of those things that's going to take some time. And we're going to have to make sure our car is set up more efficiently for what the track is and what we need. It's just a little bit of a learning curve, right? That's all it is, just a big-time learning curve. And I promise y'all, eventually we will hit a podium. I'm guarantee you in F2 we're going to hit a podium. I don't know whether it's first, second, or third, but we're going to hit a podium. Red Bull, what a shocker. Liam Lawson, he's going to claim the #1 spot here in Bahrain. Can't be too shocked by that. It is what it is. Now, while they do get to their celebrating and get ready to take the podium, I do just want to remind y'all to hit that subscribe button if you have not hit it today. And if you did like today's video, you enjoy F2, F1 racing, definitely give us a thumbs up. We're going to try to make this a more permanent part of our channel as we go throughout. And also hit that little bell icon so you can be notified of all of our content, whether it's racing, football, baseball, what have you. We're going to be uploading it. So stay tuned for all of that stuff that comes to come your way. And here they are having this little champagne spray down before giving each other a little bro hug. Everybody else, our teammate finished on the podium, but we didn't. So it is what it is. It was a decent race for us here. Not too much going on. It is our first race. We do have some more coming up. See how we can try to adjust to this F2 series and kind of work our way into F1 to really build up the ChampnSons Racing name and team to be a multi-international, multi-racing sport family. So definitely stay tuned for that, everybody. And I will be seeing y'all in the next episode in Saudi Arabia at Jeddah. Should be an interesting one. So, like I said, stay tuned. And I will see y'all then. So, as always, everybody, stay safe. And, well, y'all know how it goes from here, right? Later, y'all.